this really does not come as a shock to me or my supporters. There is no question but the DNC was on Secretary Clinton's side from day one. We all know that. And I think, as I have said a long time ago, that the time is now for Debbie Wasserman Schultz to step aside, not only for these issues. We need a Democratic Party that is open, that's going to bring young people and working people into it, that is going to stand up and take on the big money interests and fight for working families. I don't think Debbie has been that type of leader.
Well, Bernie Sanders talked about it from the beginning of this campaign. He thought the DNC was against him and his campaign. Well, WikiLeaks proved via emails that were leaked over the past few days, thousands and thousands of them, that he was right. And today, Debbie Wasserman Schultz announced that she is stepping down as the party's chair at the end of this convention. She will gavel it into session. She will gavel its completion. And she will also, she says, speak to the delegates. Donna Brazile, a well-known Democrat, a delegate here, is taking over as the interim chair after Wasserman Schultz steps down. Let's bring in our panel. Tucker Carlson, host of Fox and Friends Weekend. A.B. Stoddard, associate editor and columnist at Real Clear Politics. And David Cantonese, senior politics writer for U.S. News and World Report. David, I mean, listen, this, if anything, bolstered the Sanders people. It was the specifics inside these emails.
It was proof. I mean, this is what they feared was going on, and now they have proof of high-level DNC staffers trying to undermine Sanders' campaign and pointing to religion. That is pretty testy in a Democratic primary. Look, I think it's very hard. It's very hard for me to believe that Debbie Wasserman Schultz is going to ever take this stage and speak. That is what she is saying in her statement, but she is an embattled chair on her way out, and if she takes that stage, she is going to be booed by Sanders delegates. I can't understand. To me, if you're the Clinton campaign right now, you are trying to figure out how to not get her to speak.
But AB, just yesterday, Hillary Clinton at the Tim Kaine event praised Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She praised her for her work as a Democratic Party chair. And according to this release, she's going to gavel this convention in.
Yeah, well, I think that the Democrats were trying to put on the best face after, they wanted to show a different convention than we saw in Cleveland, that there's going to be no drama, no division, no interruptions. They were trying to pretend they were one big happy family. It became untenable in the last 24 hours. And they have failed in pushing her out. It is not acceptable for her to get up on the stage and invite the resentment of the Bernie Sanders supporters. If you're Hillary Clinton, that's not what you want to happen at this convention. Hillary Clinton needs to do what she can to assuage the Bernie Sanders supporters, but not create a scene where they can make a public display and they're going to take it out on Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz. And so no matter what you think of the job she's done at the DNC, what is the end? What's the purpose for Hillary? A smooth convention. And I think it brings more drama. And the emails, obviously, I mean, questioning Senator Sanders' faith is completely offensive, and it's going to give the Democrats are so upset tonight. I mean, talking to them this afternoon, they're really just boiling over because they feel like they've really given the Sanders supporters a brand new mission.
Tucker, I mean, this started coming out Friday. We covered it Friday on the special report. It bubbled more and more. We got more specifics. Our people dug into thousands and thousands of emails, found some really unbelievable things. As more people come to realize what's inside these emails, don't you think it'll jack it up a little bit more?
Well, it's overwhelming, and it would be a mistake to think it's confined to Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I mean, she's really kind of the fall guy here. I mean, the incoming interim chair of the DNC, Donna Brazile, also attacked Bernie Sanders in those WikiLeaks emails. So the point is, the entire Democratic...
Well, to that point, James Rosen just sent on May 22nd of this year, 60 days ago, after Sanders endorsed Debbie Wasserman Schultz's primary opponent, and DNC Communications Director Luis Miranda forwarded to Brazile the text of Wasserman Schultz's formal statement on this matter. Brazile wrote back to Miranda in an email, quote, "I saw it this AM. How stupid. Don't know how to respond to Bernie anymore." So, I mean, there's a couple of things.
And in another email that we found, she says, if I have to do that, I'll just start cussing. I mean, here's the truth. Debbie Wasserman Schultz has a lot of enemies, and not just within the Bernie camp. She has a lot of enemies, but she was allowed to stay in that position because she had one job, and that was to secure the nomination for Hillary Clinton. Now that she has achieved that, she is being cast aside. Notice this is not an ideological debate. The Democratic establishment isn't mad at Bernie because of his positions on universal health care, the law of the sea treaty. They're mad because he was potentially standing in the way of Hillary Clinton's ascendancy. It's only about power. It's a really pretty grubby display.
Yeah. So does it change what we see on the stage, or do they manage to corral everybody to somehow be unified?
You know, so often in these conventions, I think we saw last week, the runner-up has more power temporarily than the nominee. Look at what Ted Cruz did on that stage in Cleveland last week. He was the biggest story of his non-endorsement. Now I think the biggest story here is tomorrow night in Bernie Sanders' speech. What does he say? Is he wholeheartedly telling these holdouts that are on the perimeter of this convention arena, still holding Bernie signs, does he say directly to them, get on board with Hillary Clinton, there's too much at stake, or does he just talk about his issues, right? Bernie loves talking about his issues, the $15 minimum wage, the free public college, the universal health care. Or does he go whole hog for Hillary? I think he is going to set the tone tomorrow night, and we'll know soon enough.
But AB, in an anti-establishment atmosphere that we've seen throughout this primary on both sides of the aisle, doesn't this feed that? Doesn't this say, yeah, the system is rigged on both sides?
Yeah, that's the problem, is that there was a feeling among people who supported Bernie Sanders all along that the system, that the fix was in for Hillary Clinton. He didn't actually stoke that a lot. In fact, if you talk to the Sanders campaign throughout, they really wanted to focus on the issues and not on the fact that they were going to pick a fight with the party, and that they were giving the nomination to Hillary. And so at this point, even though he went on a couple interviews today and actually said emphatically that Tim Kaine's better than Donald Trump, that Hillary's better than Donald Trump, no one should vote for Donald Trump, he said it over and over again, it's not going to take away from the fact that people still believe that Hillary is the status quo, that it was rigged for her, and they want to continue the fight. They're out in the streets in Philly now, and I don't know how many of them are still listening to Bernie.
I mean, people feel that way because it's true. She does represent a third term of the president. That's great, according to some people, but that is the fact. And it was rigged. There are contests in which he won more votes than she did, and yet she won the contest. How was that not rigged? For those of us who grew up sort of believing in a naive, sort of sad way that one man, one vote was the operating principle behind our government, to find out it's not?
She was probably always the nominee.
She may have been.
And I think they ruined it doing all this stuff. Behind the scenes, they screwed themselves, to put it bluntly, emailing back and forth. Bernie Sanders was never going to defeat Hillary Clinton. She had way more popular votes.
Well, I guess we'll never know, will we?
Well, but look, I guess we'll never
coin
know.
flips and card
Exactly.
It helped his movement because they were always laying the groundwork for her. It did help him in a way.
And this doesn't help either side as far as protecting, the system as it is. I mean, it just is. It doesn't.